Hello, World History 1 students. This is Mr. Ho Telling, and this is the Unit 1 overview. In this slideshow, we will quickly look over the learning targets for this unit and get a glimpse into the things that we'll be learning. For the sake of getting it out of the way, let's address the learning target, and that will be to define the roles of the members of the school community, the skills students will need throughout the class, and the methods used for studying the past. These are all things we're going to kind of go through over the course of the unit before we assess. First and foremost, the title of this unit has to do with definitions. We are going to be defining lots of terms in this unit. This unit will discuss the definitions for key terms we will use and the ones we will need to understand throughout the school year. These are words that we're going to continually use and come back to, and so if we don't learn them now, it would be a little bit tougher later in the year. The goal is to make sure that we are, quote unquote, speaking the same language so that communication can occur both ways. As an obvious example, if I'm speaking Japanese and you don't speak Japanese, it makes it difficult for us to communicate. For a more specific example, if I'm using historical terms or geographic terms and talking about skills that you need to use for a particular assignment or reading or any kind of like learning that you have to do, but you're not sure what it means, it makes it difficult for us to communicate. And with the knowledge that we gain in this unit, we'll be able to explore the vast world of history with tools and information we need. Basically, we'll be able to actually do what we're supposed to do throughout the year. The first thing we're going to discuss is the roles of the members of the school community and how they're expected to engage with each other. Basically, we're going to ask the question, what do each member of the community do in terms of helping us with our learning? Sometimes it feels as though it's either all on the student or all on the teacher to address the learning needs, but we're going to look at all the different roles like parents and coaches and administrators and counselors, but also focus in on defining the roles and jobs of the student and the teacher. Then we're going to identify and define skills that will be assessed in the post-assessment, basically the test or some sort of project at the end of the year that students must pass in order to graduate and be productive, successful citizens. There are layers to graduation. Some of them are required by the state. Some of them are sort of teacher-driven, but you will be assessed on certain skills. And so we're going to ask the question of what skills do we need to study the past, and then also how do we use those skills to learn about the world around us. Next in this unit, we're going to determine the definition of time. So this is where we kind of segue into our more historically minded, like content-driven stuff. We're going to look at time itself and discuss how and why we measure it the way we do. How do we define and measure time? There's a lot of different ways, nifty, interesting ways to answer that question. So hopefully we can have a good discussion about that before we start the year. And then lastly, we're going to explore how the 5 themes of geography can help us understand where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So we want to ask the question, how do we identify and measure where we are and where we're going? How do we select, the terms that we use? How do we tell other people, where we are, where we've been and where we're going? And some of that stuff can be very specific. Some of that stuff can be more general. And so we're going to talk about that quite a bit. So these are the things that we're going to discuss throughout this unit. It shouldn't take more than about a week to get through the couple of assignments and discussions that we have lined up. But like I said, at the end of all this, we will have the skills and tools that we need to be successful throughout the year.